Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review.
Upon further review,
And in this edition, we talk about the St. Louis Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. You can catch this Week 5 matchup on October 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be aired on your local Fox affiliates. So the St. Louis Rams are at 1-2. They had a bye week last week, and now in Week 5, they're heading to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. The Eagles are 3-1, as they had been one of the three undefeated teams. The other two had the bye week last week, and the Eagles were the only undefeated team to play, and they are undefeated no more as they lost on the road to San Francisco as the Niners picked up their first win at Levi Stadium in the regular season. So the Eagles started things off by beating Jacksonville in Philadelphia. Then they went on the road and they beat the Colts, and then they beat the Redskins at home. So those last two there were close victories that they won by just a field goal before heading to San Francisco last week. And it was quite a wild week, and they lost that game by just 5 points despite their offense not scoring even 1 point. Other than, they got the freaking extra point. But their offense, they didn't get any field goals. They didn't get in the end zone at all. All 21 points came from special teams and defense, as the Eagles actually had the number one defense in fantasy points last week, even though they lost. That's virtually unheard of. So it was a wild and crazy week last week, and it's just really weird. You don't know what to think. But now they're back at home, and they're going against the Rams, so they should be able to bounce back and get another win in the victory column, which they need to do to keep pace with the Cowboys, as they're now tied for first place in the NFC East with Dallas. So they got to win there in Philadelphia. They can ill afford to have a home loss, especially when they're competing for that division title. So the Rams are coming to town. The Rams lost in Week 1 to Minnesota in St. Louis. They got beat pretty bad by the Vikings there in Week 1. Then they went to Tampa and they won in a close game. They just barely won by 2 points against the Bucs. And then they went to Dallas last week, and they actually almost beat the Cowboys, but Romo pulled off a fourth quarter comeback as he actually passed Staubach for most comebacks by a Cowboy in the fourth quarter. So the Rams lost the heartbreaker there against the Cowboys. It was in St. Louis too. And that's actually the interesting thing. If you look at the Rams, both of their losses came in St. Louis as they struggled at home. But their one victory came on the road. Of course, they had a bye week last week, so we'll see what happens in Philadelphia. Will they be able to pick up another road victory, or will they be handed their first road loss? I actually think it will be the latter. And if we look inside the numbers, it's actually pretty surprising when you look at some of these numbers for the Rams. You would not believe it if you did not see it for yourself. I actually had to do a double take. I was like, really? The Rams? And not that I'm that surprised, because I thought the Rams would be more competitive, but they just continue to have struggles at quarterback. And as we know in this league, if you do not have consistency at quarterback, then you're not going to be competitive. And the Rams have lots of talent on their team, but they're just not having, they don't have any continuity at quarterback. Austin Davis, hey, who knows? We'll see how he does. But he's their third string quarterback, and no one thought that he'd be taking any snaps under center in the regular season. Bradford went down, then Sean Hill went down, and now Austin Davis. Of course, he has been looking better and better as he plays. So who knows? Anything can happen. But if you look inside the numbers on passing offense, the Rams are actually an impressive 9th in the NFL for passing yards. Who would have thought that? And the Eagles are 6th for passing yards. So both teams are able to pass the ball. Of course, the Eagles definitely have an edge, but not so fast. Let's look at the defense. And when it comes to passing defense, the Rams are 3rd in the NFL in passing yards allowed. Of course, that has to do in large part to that amazing pass rush that they have, led by Robert Quinn. He is a beast. He gets up there and he is freaking getting in the faces of opposing quarterbacks and giving them, hard days. That front seven of the Rams is pretty good against the pass, even though they struggle against the run. But they definitely put pressure on the quarterback. and the numbers bear that out, and they've been getting good play from their secondary. And I said they're third in the NFL in passing defense, believe it or not. Whereas the Eagles have been struggling against the pass, and they're 23rd in the NFL. So actually, the numbers, you wouldn't think it, and you would almost think like, oh, this guy's got to be crazy to even say what I'm about to say. But when it comes to passing the football, the Rams actually have the advantage over the Eagles. Who would he? I mean, if I didn't look at the numbers, I wouldn't have even have said that. I would have not even have thought that until looking at the numbers. So I was like, man, really? But that's why we look at the numbers. That's why we study statistics. Because they show you things that you wouldn't have necessarily thought just from watching the games, just from, seeing it. But we gotta look inside them numbers to really get the full picture. And even still, anything can happen. But we look at the running offense of these two teams, and they both struggle when it comes to running the ball. The running offense of the Rams is 22 in the NFL, and the Eagles are 27. And that's pretty surprising. The Eagles are so bad at running the ball when they have the defending rushing champion, LaShawn Shady McCoy, but he has been having a very disappointing season thus far. He just has not been putting up the numbers. He only has 192 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. And he's only averaging 2.7 per touch. So it's pretty bad. Darren Sproles, on the other hand, he's averaging 6.7 per touch, but he's only ran the ball 18 times. Of course, if you look at their passing versus their running, the Eagles are a pass-heavy team. They pass the ball 166 times versus just 97 times that they run the ball. So they got to figure out some way to freaking get Shady going. They got to get McCoy the ball. I think part of it is he's just not getting his attempts. You got to give him more attempts, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Of course, against the Rams, if they give him his attempts, he should do better. Because if you look at the defense, the Rams are abysmal against the run. They're 30th in the league against the run, and the Eagles are 26th against the run. So both teams struggle to stop the run. But I got to give the favor. Even though, really, if you look at the numbers, technically the Rams are better at running the ball. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, they're 22nd in offense versus 27th for the Eagles. And although they're 30th in defense, the 26th of the Eagles is pretty close and bearing out, and they actually have a slight edge for the Rams there. But of course, that's the numbers, and sometimes numbers can be deceptive, as these numbers definitely show, because the numbers don't necessarily add up to what is being, shown on the field. Especially when you look at the points scored, right, and the points that they put on the board. The Rams are 27th in the NFL in points scored, and the Eagles are 3rd. So they put up the 3rd most points. The Eagles find a way to score one way or another, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. The Eagles get points on the board. As you saw last week, they didn't put any offensive points on the board, and they still scored 21 just off special teams and defense. If they can put up points on special teams and defense in this game, and you can be sure that their offense is going to get in the end zone against the Rams, the Eagles should win this game pretty easily. And if you look at points allowed, the Rams are 30th in points allowed. The Eagles are 25th. Not like they're that much better in points allowed, but the Rams are in the bottom 3. Only 2 teams have allowed more points than the Rams. And I'll tell you, after this game, they might be the worst in points allowed, because the Eagles could definitely run the score up on the Rams and pad their stats. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, you never know with St. Louis. Sometimes, as we saw last season, St. Louis won some games that you would have never thought they would have won, but they pulled it out. Seems like they bring their best games when they're facing the higher competition. They seem to play their worst games against mediocre teams. The Eagles, they're a good team. They've got a really high-powered offense, even though last week they got shut down by that Niners defense. But I fully expect the Eagles to come out strong this week. And I would not be surprised to see LaShawn McCoy actually have his biggest and best day of the year so far. Of course, we shall see. But either way, I think the Eagles win this one big. I think they win by double digits. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Very interested to hear your opinions. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit the like button to let us know that you enjoyed it. And you can also subscribe, and by subscribing, you'll get more content just like this. As we do upon further reviews for each and every single game, that's what you're listening to right now. We do this for every single game in the NFL each and every single week. We also do recaps for each and every single game. We also cover baseball, the baseball playoffs. We already covered the wild card, and we're covering the NLDS and the ALDS, and we're going to cover the ALCS and the NLCS and the World Series. So keep an eye out for that. We also do a little bit of college football as well, and we have our weekly show, The Wedge, where we do quick picks. We have Fantasy Fortune, that's our fantasy football segment, and we have the weekly rewind as well as the Upon Further Review for the Thursday night game. We upload that on the show, the weekly show. It's usually up by Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, sometimes as late as Thursday morning, but always before that Thursday night game, for sure. So thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. Hope you're having a great day, and hope you're having a great weekend, and enjoy all the excellent sports, especially these baseball playoffs and more exciting, wonderful football here in Week 5.